Welcome back, everybody. Imagine for a moment you're back in college and you find out that the student next to you, well, his last job was a propagandist for the Taliban. It was the reality for students at Yale University. Tara Lynn, she joins us with the surprising details.
Saeed Rahmatullah Hashimi is a freshman at Yale University, but a few years ago, he was a featured speaker. According to a recent cover article in the New York Times Magazine, Hashimi appeared on campus before, in March of 2001, as the face of the Taliban in America. From early youth, Rahmatullah studied the basics of Islam as well as several languages. He left school at age 10 to help his father in the family shoe store. Then in 1994, the Taliban came into power in Afghanistan, and the 16-year-old joined them as a computer operator and later as a translator. He became roving ambassador in 2000 and traveled around the world as a spokesperson for the regime. In early 2001, he met with U.S. State Department officials, senators, and the media defending the Taliban's actions and their treatment of women. Then after 9/11, he and his wife and children fled to Pakistan to escape the U.S. retaliation. 3 years later, he applied to Yale, and in 2005, he was admitted as a non-degree student. He remained there quietly until the New York Times published their article, and that's when the controversy erupted. There are those who opposed his attending Yale. There are those who opposed to his being in the United States at all. Congress has gotten involved. They want answers about his visa. According to Yale's website, we hope that his courses help him understand the broader context for the conflicts around the world, and the students there seem to concur. A poll at the university newspaper found that 50% of the undergrad students support his acceptance to their school. Only about 25% opposed.
Well, thank you very much, Carolyn. For more on this, I want to welcome my guest, spokesman for the Young Americans Foundation, Jason Mattera, and he joins us out of D.C. Jason, thank you for the time.
Thank you for having me on, Richard.
Let me just, we've laid out the background about this particular student, and I got to put out front for everybody, your group has been very opposed to this from the get-go. You've also taken Yale to issue over their practices as it relates to the ROTC not being on campus. So you got an axe to grind with these guys, but let me play devil's advocate for a minute. This guy, I mean, nobody's going to defend what he did with the Taliban, but he said, hey, I made a mistake, young guy, I don't think that way anymore. And Yale says, hey, we're an academic institution, broadening horizons, having a lot of different thoughts on campus. If, in fact, the guy's changed his stripes, why is it so wrong?
Well, the fact is we don't know if he's changed his stripes or not. And in one instance, for Yale to keep the ROTC off campus, and in the other, the same breath, to embrace one of our nation's enemy or an apologist for our nation's enemy is completely unacceptable. It goes against all morality and common sense. But up until last year, this man has still been defending Osama bin Laden. He called him, well, he's a good guy to his people. He called Israel an American version of Al-Qaeda. He said he defended the Kabul massacre when they just totally killed a whole bunch of women. He defended it by saying, well, they kill people in Texas all the time. He's been antagonistic and belligerent in class. This man should not be in an American classroom. Out of all spots, Yale, there's 19,000 people every year that get denied. I got to think for Yale, why don't, if they want to broaden horizons, why don't they get an Afghan girl who Rahmatullah Hashimi, kept from being uneducated and give her a full scholarship to Yale?
Well, here's the thing. First off, don't get me to defend this guy, especially his past comments, but when you look at the chronology of him, most, if not all, were before 2001, at least the documented ones. But beyond that, I'll read what a student at Yale had to say. And it should be noted that when the kids at Yale were polled about whether they wanted this guy on campus or not, by 2 to 1, they said they did. Now, Benjamin Gonzalez, he's a freshman there, he said, universities are places that must strive to increase understanding. If we didn't accept them and try to learn from them, how can we say with this diverse body and institution of higher learning? Listen, Jason, they're not asking you or me to foot the bill for his tuition. It's a private institution.
Actually, no, it's not private. That student you read that quote from is an idiot, number one. And it's not a private institution. They receive $200 million from the federal government each year. And what is there to understand about summary executions, the stoning of women, skinning people alive, and bulldozing homosexual men for their orientation? This is all unacceptable. This institution has to just call evil evil. This man should not be there. We've been embroiled in moral relativism here. We can't make any type of distinction between right and wrong. Again, if they want to broaden horizon, there's thousands of people in the Middle East who are American allies. The thing is, we are still at war with the Taliban. Currently, today, the Taliban is killing American soldiers overseas, and to embrace their senior official on a campus is completely unacceptable. I don't want to have to put you, Richard, in the spot of defending this man. I know you're not defending this, but Yale University has to explain to the world why in the hell they put this man in a Yale classroom instead of, and the U.S. government. Why the U.S. government gave him a visa is a mystery to most normal people.
Are you saying that you want to dictate who colleges can and can't accept on campus?
In this particular case, yes. Clearly, because the man we're fighting, I actually would almost view him as an enemy combatant. He's never renounced the Taliban. Never once has renounced the Taliban. He said, "Well, I could have been a little less harsh with my words, but we are still fighting the Taliban." So, as an American citizen, I do have the right to say who they can accept on that campus. And in particular, a Taliban, an enemy official of another completely despotic regime. Yes, every American should be able to weigh in on this, and many are calling the president of Yale University, stopping to send alumni donations. So they've had a massive fallout over this.
Jason, I appreciate a few minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard.
You know what? I don't know which side here is missing the boat more, Yale for having this guy on campus, and the others who say colleges may have to answer to other groups to decide who they can and can't have on campuses.